Yeah, I guess we need to look ahead to the semis and make a bit of a prediction.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's get into it. Two massive semi-finals. So Friday night, as I said, Adelaide will return to Adelaide Oval after they lost to the Pies, hoping to make amends against the Hawks. They've already played twice in the last 3 months, can you believe? So they played in June and they played in August. They split those, so the home team won each one of those. The first one being that it was really cold and windy down in Launceston.
Very low-scoring game.
47-44, I think it was, and the Hawks just scraped over the line and in the last minute. Who kicked the winner in that one? Was that a Dylan Moore special? Off the top of my head, I'm getting distracted anyway. But then Adelaide later in the year was a lot more high scoring, and obviously the Crows kind of love that kind of style of play, and they were able to win that one. Both very different games, very different results. How does this one look like playing out?
Yeah, so again, the basic football thing is what you want to do with once you got the ball in your hands. Adelaide like to kick and Hawthorn like to handball. So in the two games they played this year, Adelaide's had more kicks in both games. So round 21, the most recent one, they had 29 more kicks than the Hawks had, but the Hawks had 65 more handballs. So Hawthorn are more likely to sort of, move the ball up quickly by hand, and Adelaide like to go a little bit slower. But you look at we've spoken about during the year, the premiership standard sort of looks at, you don't want to concede points from your forward half, but you also want to be good at scoring from your back half. So you want to be able to move the ball from one end to the other. You don't want to get stuck in your back end, turn it over and let the opposition score. So banging on all year about Adelaide, no good at moving the ball. So what they need to do is they need to start their chain in their forward half. So they've scored the second most points of any team from forward half chains this year. So that's getting the ball forward, getting a stoppage in your forward 50 and getting Rankin on the move and scoring a goal from that, or turning the ball over with a forward half intercept. So second most points for them come from that source. Hawthorn are third for points conceded from there. So they don't get stuck in their back half and they don't let the other team score from front half chains. And then you look at the other way, Hawthorn score the third most points of any team from back half chains. So they're great at going end to end and flying down the end. The Crows concede the fewest. So it's almost like the two halves are going to play out.
A bit of a war of attrition.
It's going to be, can Hawthorn get their ball movement game going?
Yep.
Or can Adelaide sort of get their forward half game and territory game going?
Yeah.
I'm already throwing out, it'll be a massive fluke if Adelaide all of a sudden come out and kick 6 goals from back half and win, because they haven't been able to do it all year. They couldn't do it against Collingwood. I can't see them doing it against the best defensive team this year. So, yeah, it's really going to go back to the strengths of Hawthorn. Are going to be happy to sort of concede an inside 50 and try to keep the ground big and go into end and flick it through handball. Adelaide's going to be keeping an eye on that inside 50 count, the repeat entries. We need a lot of repeat entries. We need high inside 50 count. Just make the ball live in our forward half and hopefully we can score.
Well, they need a bit more dynamism in that front half. You talk about someone like Josh Rochelle potentially coming back in now as well.
Looks like
I think that would be really important. Just add a little bit of dynamism to that forward 50 mix. You know, you've got the Keys that are there, as in the key forwards, not Ben Keys.
Both of them.
Well, you've got Keys as well, and he needs to bounce back as well. So there's a lot to prove and a lot to show for this Crows forward mix, and the pressure is on them to deliver. So, yeah, well, the mids will be important to get the ball forward as well. But as you say, the Hawks they have that ability to sort of go quickly and move from D50 to I50, and I'm really looking forward to this matchup because, as you say, I think there are two very distinct styles. And which one we sort of see in finals more? Do you have an indication of which one we would usually see in sort of high-pressure stakes environments?
Yeah, so usually in the past you'd say Adelaide's going to stack up. Territory's going to help you a lot more in finals. Ball movement is king this year. So that's where the Hawks have got the Crows. So it'd be interesting. It's almost 2025 game style, which is the Hawks, versus the previous 5 years game style, which is what the Crows do strongly.
Jake, sometimes we get sucked into.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say.
The qualifying final loser.
Qualifying
the elimination
final loser is
winner.
terrible, and the elimination final winner is amazing.
Riding the high.
It's just we every year it happens, and we'll get to the next game, and I'm sure we'll probably say the same sort of thing. Look, you can certainly make a case for Hawthorn, as he seems to do. I don't know, you may be going for the Hawks, but I just think Adelaide, they've got that final out of the way.
The bad final.
They'll be the first to admit that was not them. That's not what we've seen all year. Prior to that, they won 12 of their last 13 games. Now, that one loss was the Hawthorn one you just mentioned, that low-scoring kind of weird scrap in Tassie. Take nothing away from Hawthorn, they still won it. But 12 of their last 13 games, they were the minor premier. It wasn't like they lucked into it. They won a lot of games throughout. They won 18 games this season.
In a chock-full top half of the ladder as well.
Yeah, I just think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves writing the Crows off. If this game was at the MCG, I'd think differently. But back at Adelaide Oval, okay, let's just put a line through that first one. We come back, we win again, we're into a prelim anyway. I can't tip against the Crows in this game.
Do you have a margin for us?
I'll go 10 points. I think it'll be close enough. But yeah, I just think everyone's getting too down on Adelaide so quickly.
Christian?
Yeah, well, I might be a sucker for that because I think I'm about to do the same thing. But I will go to the. I said the same thing last week. I'll be ready for the elimination final winner to all of a sudden be on the hottest streak and the qualifying loser to be like the worst team going on. Got pulled up by guys in the office and said, hang on, that actually is the case. In recent years, so since 2014, there's only been 2 years where a team hasn't gone out in straight sets. So 2017 and 2020 are the only 2 years in the past 10. This will be the 11th year, obviously, that we haven't seen a team go out in straight sets. So chances are either Adelaide or Brisbane will drop out one.
Interesting.
The other thing that goes against this one, though, is we've never seen a top of the table. So the team that finished number one on the ladder hasn't gone out in straight sets since 1983. So never in a top 8 sort of qualifying final, elimination final. But 1983, I think North Melbourne finished on top of the ladder, didn't win a final, lost 2 finals and went out. So very, very rare that you go out that quickly. But I think Adelaide would probably be a chance for it. I think, that
would be a heartbreaking.
Yeah. It's definitely a 50-50 game, but if I have to tip, I'd go Hawthorn by 8 or 9 points, just based on the fact that what I said, their style of footy seems to be getting the job done a lot more in 2025 than the Crows style of footy.
I'm not convinced that that's a long-term finals thing. I think finals, it can just be a bit more.
Does the fact that they played a semi-final at Adelaide Oval last year, against a different side, but they played this at this stage at that venue last year and a heartbreaking 3-point loss.
Something like that.
Does that help them this week?
I reckon people make so many narratives about it. I wouldn't have thought it makes a difference. It's 12 months ago. So much has changed since. Same thing. You're playing different opposition. Just because it's the same venue, I don't think that should bring up any memories or anything. But I'm sure people, it'll be spoken about. And
people will. I just did.
Crows by 2 points with not much confidence.
Crows by 2. Okay, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And on Saturday night, a first for the AFL, Jake, a Q Clash final. Can you believe we got a Q Clash final before we got a Western Derby final?
No, I can't, to be honest. Oh. But I'm very excited for it.
And this is just about as good a result in terms of the other results falling their way that the Suns could have hoped for. So they go home after going all the way over to Perth, 5.5-hour flight. They come back to Queensland, land at Gold Coast Airport, they do their training, and all they have to do is drive an hour up the road to go to the Gabba.
Yeah, so last week when I did my every team's percentage chance of winning the flag...
You gave the Suns...
I gave the Suns 1%, and my rationale was, okay, so they've never played a final before, no experience at this stage, and they're going to have to play 4 finals on the road to win the flag. So they've won 1, check that one off. They're down to 3. Well, the thing that I sort of ignored was the fact that, there was a possibility that they do get Brisbane in a semi-final, and that's not real. It's an away game, but it's not a travel game. It's been their home state. I said to you before we started, if the Suns were drafting their ideal semi-final opponent, not just of who's in semi-final weekend, but of the 5 other teams remaining, I reckon Brisbane's the one that they want. I reckon Brisbane is their first pick of every team left who they play this weekend if you have to play them at their own stadium.
They're just beating them the last time, but so Gold Coast won their last meeting against them, but that was played at People First. I always get the sponsors wrong.
Correct.
But 7 straight at the Gabba for the Lions. So,
but you can't tell
me that's the one venue.
Who would they rather play at the other team's home stadium over Brisbane at the Gabba? They're not playing Collingwood at the MCG. They might have to do that the following week. They're not playing Geelong at the G. They're not playing Hawthorn at the G.
You don't mind flying. You choose Freo at Optus, which they just conquered.
But I'm saying of who's left. So my point is I ignored that part of it. And look, same sort of thing as I said before. We're all very quick to just start putting a line through Brisbane. Very, very quick to do that. So we're not going to do that just yet. But I think there's a real chance that Brisbane's beat up. They really are.
They are,
And the other part is it's not like they played at the Gabba lost. It's very different to Adelaide's situation where we played at home, lost. Okay, we go sleep in our bed tonight and we get back and we're back at it tomorrow.
Yep.
Very different for Brisbane, down in Melbourne, and then have to go back. And so you just lose a bit of time. I don't know. I just think that Gold Coast is a real chance. And I know I'm contradicting what I just said myself about we do get sucked in, especially a team like Gold Coast where it is their... that was their grand final. When's the last time you saw a team celebrate like that and it wasn't a grand final.
I think you're allowed to celebrate.
Oh, they are. Of course they are. But
Say from some of the antics you told me about in the hotel there.
yeah, well, I know. But it was the biggest win in club history. So how do you back that up?
Well, let's bring it back a little bit first. So you said it's not been a happy hunting ground, the Gabba, for the Suns. How do they end the skid there? What do they do well against the Lions, or what have they done well against the Lions this year that you can see them working their way through the Gabba problems?
So a couple of things. I don't know how you work through the Gabba problems because it seems to be same as Geelong when they play down at their home ground. You almost give Brisbane a 3-goal head start. Brisbane can start with 3 goals on the board. It just seems to be how much better everyone just plays at that venue. But look at the 2 games that they played this year. Gold Coast kept them to 66 and 64 points in the 2 games this year, which is the 3rd and 4th lowest scores for Brisbane in any games this year. But it's twice. It's twice where they've sort of come up against Brisbane, who 6th for points for this year. It is their Brisbane's weakness. They're 12th for scoring per inside 50, which is the lowest ranked of any of the finals.
And that scoring's only going to get more difficult now, I think, with their forward line mix.
Yeah, so that'll be the big one of Gold Coast can probably look at it and go, well, we've beaten these guys defensively before, and now their forward lines are, and even weaker than probably when they last played them. But the one that I'll throw up is last time they played against each other, Gold Coast scored 43 points straight out of the centre. So I don't think Lachie Neale played in that game either. So it was a huge sort of loss for the Lions in that one. But yeah, Gold Coast outscored them by 43 points from centre bounce clearances. Brisbane's second worst differential out of the centre either. It's almost like Brisbane need to find something different in the middle when they come up against Gold Coast. So I don't know. I could almost spin this losing Lachie Neale, who is an absolute star, and you can never say that losing him's a positive, but maybe just trying to find a new mix of Bailey. Maybe Rayner gets his hands to the ball a bit more, throwing Ashcroft in there.
Some of the more kind of dynamic type players.
So whether that's just something where, Gold Coast have already beaten up you around the clearances. You need to find something new. You're going to be forced to find something new because Lachie Neale's now out.
There's your headline. The silver lining to Lachie Neale not playing.
Well, yeah, it could just mean that, we see a different dynamic of Bailey, Rayner, and if those guys who have just had, Bailey was pretty good on the weekend. Rayner had a shocker besides the 2 goals that he sucked from the umpire sort of thing. But yeah, it could actually change Brisbane to force up a new look midfield, and it could throw something different to what Gold Coast had against them last time.
Kai Lohman was really disappointing. Charlie Cameron was really disappointing. You're probably not getting enough out of Logan Morris in a big game. Sam Day's just not quite at the standard, I think, for a finals calibre team. You're going to, you obviously know Hipwood coming back now because he's been confirmed out for the rest of the year. I don't know what you do with that forward mix. You could be bringing in like a Bruce Reville. You could be bringing in Henry Smith, the bum tickler.
Yeah.
It's just a tough situation that the Lions find themselves in where they're suddenly just lacking a few options. And if some of these guys that have been playing consistently over the last couple of years aren't firing, where are their scores going to come from?
Well, that's what I said earlier, and I'm very glad you brought up that number. I wasn't aware of that. 66 and 64 points this year, and that's definitely stronger forward line mixes back then compared to what it's going to be, whoever they put out there this week. So I don't know. I don't know what score. If you tell me right now, Gold Coast finished on 74 points. Do you think that's enough for them? Is that winning it?
Not against the Lions at the Gabba, I think. Yeah.
You don't think at Lions at the Gabba that's enough? Because they kicked 6. They only kicked. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit out of the box. I mean, I know what you're saying, and it's sexy and easy to get swept up in the Gold Coast story, but I think there is that sort of emotional thing. And we talked about David Swallow being played last week. Sorry.
They only kicked 66 at the Gabba when they played there this year.
I am still leaning towards the Lions in this one. But if you're the Suns, just back on Swallow, you can't play him this week. He's had his injection of enthusiasm.
Excuse me, you were wanting him to play last week, and now you're telling me he can't play this week.
He got his final. He got his final win. He had his final moment. You can now say you're probably not up to. He would have been on for 5 minutes. So a 35-metre kick inside 50 and couldn't make the distance.
Yes, and that's why I was telling you he should not have played last week.
He was the emotional difference for them last week.
No,
he had to play. Both things can be true.
No.
He could play. He had to play last week, and he can't play this week.
Why did he have to play last week?
Because the emotional uplift that he gave them. The cultural vibes.
I think that is so intangible.
Hey, it worked.
It worked. It worked, but it was.
But you can't do it this week.
But you just said
both things can be true.
Up until that shot.
Yeah. He'd been awful.
You just he'd barely been on.
And he won them game.
So what happened if he had to come on 2 minutes into the game?
I'm right in both occasions. He had to play last week, and he cannot play this week.
I think you're completely contradicting yourself if you're saying he had to play last week but they can't play in this. The whole point is you need to put your best team out there. If he can't go from being in their best team to not being in their best team, and the only thing that happened in the middle is he won them the game off his own boot. It'll be the first time in football history that a player wins a game
And that's
in
fine.
the last 10 seconds and gets dropped for the following final.
Your thoughts, Christian, on this, just really quickly before we come with a tip and a margin and all that kind of stuff?
Unless there's someone, and they didn't have any VFL games this week, so yeah, I find it hard to drop him unless you've got someone that you clearly know is going to come in and do a role. They're throwing up names like Jake Rogers. I'm not convinced.
There's
Will
no
Graham
way they drop him.
9, so if there's no one screaming out for it, give him another go.
I don't think he should have played last week. I know that obviously what happened, but I'm consistent. You're not consistent.
No, but I'm I'm inconsistent for a reason.
Okay. So I'm going to go with the Suns. Now, maybe I'm a fool. Maybe I'm being sucked in. I don't know. But I kind of got swept up in it all. Yeah, I did. You don't root for teams and players, but I was really happy to see Gold Coast win.
Okay.
It was a nice story to see.
Nourishment for 15 years of
Absolutely.
toiling, hard work.
And hearing what Damien Hardwick had to say after the game, I have a lot. It was nice to see. I was happy for them. Now, to my point about the celebrations afterwards, and I'm not talking about hotel and that sort. I'm talking about on the field, like the way they're running around afterwards, and good on them. They deserve to do that. First final they won, but how do you back up from that? That's a big mental challenge to sort of come back down and then get yourself up again.
I agree, yeah.
So, look, it's a risk I'm taking going with Gold Coast. I'll pick the Suns by 5 points.
Jeez.
But, yeah, I really don't know. I think I'm more hopeful than anything.
Lions by 13 for me. There'll be 3 kicks of difference.
I'm going Lions by about 25. I think just experience, just the way last 2 weeks have played out. Gold Coast, as you said, played their grand final. Brisbane look at that game against Geelong and just think, we're not going to play like that again.
But in recent experience, no.
Well, recent times between these two, yeah, it's been low scoring. But I just think in a final, I just think Brisbane's going to come out and remind us all why and how they won it last year and why they've been one of the best teams over the last 6 years.
In the last 10 months, Gold Coast has won more finals than Brisbane. I'll tell you that right now.
Can't wait.